Research is the lifeblood of any innovative company. One of the first departments I wanted to dive into when I started working seriously at Young Living was R&D. They have the curious spirit that my dad had, and it has been continuing research that has grown Young Living from 2 or 3 oils to a wide catalog of products across multiple areas. Richard Carlson and Chris Bowerbank both work closely with the D. Gary Young Research Institute, and they are here today to share some of their process and exciting findings. Hello and welcome to Young Living's podcast, The Wild Drop. My name is Jacob Young, your host. Young Living is a world leader in producing and distributing premium essential oils, and this podcast will provide you with drops of information about Young Living, including stories, history, product information, lots of little fun facts, and even more. All right. Well, welcome both of you to the podcast. This is a little bit different than our usual podcast. We have 2 people on at the exact same time. So, Chris and Richard, if you both kind of want to explain who you are, what you do, and the departments that you're in, that'd be great. I know, Richard, you've been on before, and I think, Chris, this is actually your very first time. So,
this is my first time. It's good to be here.
Welcome.
I'm the Senior Director of Analytical Sciences within the Research and Development Department here at Young Living. I've been here for about 6 years. I'm a PhD analytical chemist. I have about 30 years of total laboratory experience, much of that in the analytical laboratory. And so I work directly for Rich Carlson, and my role is primarily to help develop new methodology for the analysis of essential oils and many of our nutritional products.
And for you, Rich, of course.
Thank you, Jacob. Yes, it's good to be back. My name is Richard Carlson. I'm Executive Director of Research and Analytical Sciences, or Research and Development, if we want to simply call it that. And I have been with Young Living almost 13 years now, and it's been a wonderful experience. And as Chris mentioned, he and I work together to make sure that our products are the best that they can be.
A lot of you guys out there, listening, have used the products that Rich and Chris have worked on together, that have developed together. And so they're kind of the ones that do a lot of the work behind the scenes. Chris is very active on social media and shares a lot of amazing information about our products and essential oils as well. And Rich has a lot of insight and information and knowledge in this kind of area that we call essential oils. So it's great to kind of have, you two combining your forces and your powers together to make the incredible products that we have. What's also great is you guys work inside the Research Institute, which a lot of people don't realize was actually introduced and brought forward in 2018 after my dad passed away. And so I would love it if, you both in kind of your own way could explain the reasoning behind the Research Institute and how it is a progression of my dad's legacy.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. I don't think of the Research Institute as changing anything at Young Living. It was pretty much a name change, but I had the opportunity and the blessing to work with your dad for about 7 years, and he was always curious, always looking for the next thing to make what he had formulated or what he had learned to increase his understanding of it or to make that product or that ingredient better. He started with looking at testing the essential oils. That was something that no one really did in his industry. Well, I say his industry because let's be frank, he started it.
Yeah.
And everybody used a third-party laboratory to test their raw materials. And Gary said, no, I want to learn how to do this myself. And I want to understand the product quality myself. I don't want to take the word of somebody that I don't know, somebody that I met at a meeting, and yes, I've talked to them, I trust them, but natural products are a different beast. They're different every year. They're different from location to location. The same plant material grown in Europe versus the same plant material grown in South America can have different chemical profiles. And the only way to do that, to understand that and to understand your product, is to do the testing yourself. So we started with one gas chromatograph, mass spectrometry, and now we've got a lab full of wonderful equipment. And it's really cool for me as an analytical chemist to be with a company that's willing to do that. If we look at a lot of the companies in the direct sell space, I can't think of another one that has a dedicated research laboratory. There are some that have laboratories. They also advertise their services for profit, and they function as third-party laboratories for others. We don't do that here.
Yeah, no, it's all in-house, which is super amazing and not a claim that a lot of people can make either. What's also really interesting is when it comes to essential oils specifically, there's not really a standardized series of tests as far as quality goes. There's not really like, oh, we're trying to match this or we need to be at this level to have that sort of claim, which is kind of interesting to see. My dad kind of set that standard, or wanted to set the standard for ourselves. And that's what we match. That's what we always make sure with all of our oils, that they always have and will get to that level as well. Chris, on your side, when it comes to nutrition and products, what are some of the things that you do in your day-to-day testing and research, and what all can someone expect when it comes to having these nutritional products?
Nutritional products at Young Living were actually where Young Living started in the early days, whether it was the berry young juice or some of the historical products. And so one thing that people may not realize is within the Research Institute, we actually have a lot of different groups that contribute to the work that we do. We have a product development group, and within that group, there's actually a nutrition focus as part of the department. And so their primary role is to research the marketplace, to look for innovative ingredients, to look for ingredients that can be naturally sourced, and either add those to a new product that we're bringing to Young Living, or maybe replace one of the current ingredients that we have with something even a little bit better. And so as the laboratory group works with the development group, we're able to eventually create a product that's unique to the marketplace, that nobody else has, that addresses a concern or a need that so many of our brand partners, customers, and even the world need in this day and age. And so it's really a synergistic partnership amongst all the groups within the Research Institute that eventually allow us to launch products like Super Magnesium and Deep Sleep Essence and some of these amazing products that you saw that we released at YL30.
Yeah. So when it comes to products like Deep Sleep Essence, obviously you have to have a lot of the departments working hand in hand together in a collaborative effort. And that kind of goes with all the products that we have. But when it comes to science specifically, how does a product like that kind of go through its process? I know there's we could go very in depth on this, but on a general basis, like what's kind of the process of that? Does it start with an idea over here on the analytical chemist side? Does it start in product development? Does it start in nutrition? And then, where does it go from there? Who starts it? Who kind of finishes it? And I know it's not an easy question to answer, but I know a lot of people are always wondering, like, how does that process function? How does that work?
Yeah, the ideas for a new ingredient or a new product can come from a lot of different people within the organization. Rich, myself, and Mark Bartlett, and H.K. Lynn, we meet periodically in what we call an innovation pod to review a lot of the new and latest and greatest science that's out there. In the world of sleep, for example, it's well known that magnesium is an effective sleep aid. And so from that idea that we need a magnesium product, the nutrition team then began looking at the different forms of magnesium that are available out on the market. And not only just the forms, but how much would you need of each one? And by looking at the current research, by talking with ingredient suppliers, by looking at clinical studies that have used those different ingredients, they eventually narrow that down to the ingredient or ingredients that they feel like will best combine to create an effective product for Young Living. And so the ideas can come from a lot of different people within the Research Institute.
Yeah. Once we have those ingredients put together, does it then kind of go over to Rich to do the testing if oils are involved? Where do you kind of come into play, Rich, when it comes to product development like that?
Several different touch points. There's the oil portion, as we have essential oils in virtually all of our products, but that's done on the front end. So we work closely with sourcing and make sure that the oils are always the best that we're able to get and that they meet our specifications. And you mentioned briefly about your dad's work and looking at, well, how do I know that this is authentic and genuine and what the specifications are? The farms that Young Living has is a magnificent resource for that. So we're able to grow lavender and we can test it in the laboratory. We can do the distillations ourselves and we can understand what that oil profile should look like. We've taken that further with other botanicals. We grow botanicals in our greenhouse. We distill them. We make sure that we have the correct aromatic profile and compare that to things that we have to purchase that we're not able to grow on our own farms. So that's one way that we make sure that the oils are authentic and they meet our specifications. Another portion is evaluating and giving a critical eye to research and the clinical studies that are available on these ingredients. It takes some experience to be able to look at a clinical study and how it's laid out, the number of people that participated in it, whether or not it was randomized, whether it was controlled, was it double-blinded, single-blinded, did they use a placebo? There's a lot that goes into understanding how much weight we should put into data that's available. So we make sure that the clinical studies are correctly done. We make sure that the data is as accurate as it can be. And if all of those boxes are checked, then we give our approval on these ingredients to go into the formulation.
I think what a lot of people don't realize, too, is the amount of research on your guys' end that goes into every single specific ingredient that's in every single product. And one thing that I am just so appreciative because I understand it, I've seen it in action working in R&D for a little bit, is just the amount of effort and research and studying and testing that goes into a product. And I think what's also amazing is a lot of our products are able to tie into Seed to Seal as well, which I know some of you aren't, you're listening, and so you're not able to see this fun little cheat sheet, I guess, as you can call it, that I'm seeing in front. And I would kind of love it if Chris, you and Rich could talk about some of the amazing things about Seed to Seal and what really differentiates us and sets us apart from the rest of the industry.
Yeah, one of the pillars of Seed to Seal is what we call innovative science. And that's really, we have the title, the world leader in essential oils. I like to add another word after that title, representing each of the different areas that the Research Institute has its hands into, whether it's the world leader in essential oil plant research or the world leader in essential oil product development. And so as you look at Seed to Seal at this pillar, there's so many different areas that we contribute to as the world leader. For example, from the testing point of view, Once these methods are fully developed in the research and development area, we then transfer those methods down to an entirely different laboratory, which is known as our quality control laboratory. There, they take each product, each lot of product, through an entire battery of tests. And we do that all within our own laboratories. Rich talked about these third-party or these external laboratories. We only use those external third-party laboratories when they have a very specific expertise that we want to take advantage of. And so within the seed to seal pillar, we have hundreds of years of scientific experience within our staff. I think if you total it up, it's probably
that's what you have, over 30. I have almost 40. So just the two of us have about 70 years of. Yeah. I think I'm 30 years after my PhD now.
And then if you add up all of the years of experience of others that work in the laboratory, we're probably well over 200 total years of laboratory experience, actually. And so as we are the world leader in research, world leader in analysis, world leader in development, as we look to the strength of each of these seed to seal pillars, it really gives, I think, our brand partners and customers confidence in the products that they're taking, that the ingredients have been responsibly sourced, that the analysis is being done competently with validated methods, and that they're effective products, right? And so we approach product development with that mindset. Gary obviously is not here. If he were here, I would think that he would approach a need in the world and say, what does the world need? Then he would look out in the marketplace, look for ingredients or oils that address that problem or issue, and then begin to compile those ingredients into a product that would help each individual person.
And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he did.
There's a part of the research that still happens, but it's not as documented or talked about as much. And that was the finding of the source of these ingredients. A lot of you listening and those that know the Young Living story know that my dad traveled to every single corner of the earth, essentially, looking for certain botanicals or looking for certain ingredients, or whether it was just learning about a certain method or distillation practice, whatever it may be, constantly wanting to know more. And that still goes on till this very, very day. I've been fortunate enough to join, Brett Packer and Chris Packer and Nicholas Lundell on a few of these expeditions, and have, done a few expeditions by myself where actually one of the botanicals that we discovered had never been identified before. And that was a humbling and amazing experience in itself, of just the difficulties, the lengths, the sleepless nights, and some of the areas that you go through and the food that you have and the people that you meet. It's all just an amazing thing to have to be able to share within the story of how this product came to be because of this ingredient or whatever it may be.
Yeah. One thing that I think is unique to our research institute is, so we've got a director of plant research, Tyler Wilson. And normally in a company who sells products, you would only participate in research that would be for maybe a new product. We have a unique aspect to where we really want to contribute to the overall science behind plant research and aromatic plants. And so we've published in peer-reviewed journals over the last 5 years over 50 articles. If you look at that list, some of those articles are on plants that we don't have a product for. And so I think that's somewhat unique, where we are adding to the academic backbone of aromatic plant research. I recently got back from an international symposium on essential oils where Young Living was the only company represented from North America. And so to add to Rich's point, we are unique in that we do research that does not have maybe a commercial endpoint. And that's something that, is unique to not only our company, but to companies probably around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's vital, because you never know when you're going to find something that's interesting and that it's worth pursuing as a scientist and as a researcher. we go out and we kick rocks around, and we look for plants, we look for ingredients, we look for composition of plants, and we might not know what we've found today. And some of these things that Chris just mentioned that might not look like they have a tie-in to our current products and portfolio, but in 5 years, they might.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of explaining it. So, obviously with my dad not being around anymore, he was kind of the head of research. Like, he would do everything that you would need to do as a team, as a department, as an organization, and would provide you with kind of everything that you need and say, okay, I've got it all. Here's what I'm looking for. Go and develop the product now. Because we don't have that lead man anymore, what as an institution are you guys doing to ensure that that kind of carries on, that happens? And then what does the future look like as well?
I would say within the Institute, we have scientists that come from a lot of different backgrounds. We have obviously analytical chemists like Rich and myself. We have biologists. We have plant biologists. We have neuroscientists. We have food scientists. And so we're taking all of that expertise and putting it into one central location. And all of those disciplines help to contribute to this innovation that's the center and key to the D. Gary Young Research Institute. Now, we have instrumentation in the laboratory that didn't exist when your dad was around. And so we now have these additional tools that we can look a little bit deeper into individual plants to determine, are there other beneficial compounds that are present beyond what you get just from steam distillation. Deep spectra, the frankincense squared, is a great example. So when frankincense is distilled, there are some compounds called boswellic acids. Boswellic acids, when you steam distill it, don't come through into the oil. The only way to get out boswellic acids is to extract them like we're doing with this patent-pending technology that we use for deep spectra. Now, are there other compounds from frankincense resin or from other plants that we can and should try to extract? Absolutely. But it's the technology that we have today that's going to allow us to do that. And so the Research Institute's purpose is really to advance that essential oil science, to find out what else is out there that Gary didn't know back in the day, but that we now have the tools to look at. For example, lavender oil, right? Everybody loves it. We thought we knew what was in lavender. They do the chemical profiling, and they used to think that there were 200 to 400 individual compounds in a lavender oil. Well, we've been working with a company who we gave them a sample of our lavender, and they did a different type of separation to where they separated over 1,500 different compounds in the same lavender oil that we used to think there were only a couple hundred compounds. So now take that library of 1,500 compounds and begin to look at each individual compound in that set. What does each one do? Why does the plant produce that? What's its purpose? It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And Mark Bartlett has talked about with deep spectra, it's the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole mountain of information underneath the water that we still have yet to discover.
And as Chris mentioned, we knew as analytical chemists that there were additional compounds in lavender oil. We know there's additional in frankincense. But with our previous analysis techniques, again, 200 to 400 was what we could determine. So a purpose of the Institute is to continue to expand upon what we're doing now, to keep our eyes and ears open on emerging technologies, making sure that it fits with what we're trying to do. Again, we take our time and make sure that things are not a flash in the flavor of the month, that it's something that's actually founded on true scientific principles, and that it's giving us viable data. So that's one example of the deep spectra. We have other examples. We started looking at isotope ratio mass spectrometry, which we're continuing to expand upon that. So the purpose of the Research Institute is to advance the science and technology of the analyses of essential oils and natural products, if I had to sum it up.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of kind of summing it up, and I apologize for kind of providing you with such a difficult question, but you guys answered it, exceptionally well, as you always do. And, to that point, you also answered the question of like, what does the future look like as far as the Institute is concerned? And it's just ensuring that the legacy of progression, research, understanding of what we already know continues. And what you shared, Chris, as far as, what we used to know, and now the number that we do know now, we got to go back and check everything else. Right. And that's a lot of work.
And that 1,500 that's just what we know now. There might be more 2,000,
tomorrow, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely phenomenal that you both and the team that you have and everybody else that's involved has really just been able to continue and move on with the legacy that's been left behind by my dad. I know there were a lot of people that were very uncertain after my dad's passing as far as how the research was going to continue, how new products were going to be formulated. And Rich and Chris and their team have put in a lot of checks and balances and implementations to make sure that all the fears that you have can be answered, and that you don't really have to fear or worry about anything. Just hang on. Like, there's a lot to come. There's still so much that we're uncovering and finding out. And Richard, you were just sharing something that I'd kind of love if you shared with the viewers, in a sense of why having the R&D team that we have in the Institute is just so important.
I've been around for a while, and I've been in the sciences for, I have a bachelor's degree, I've got a master's degree, I've got a PhD. So I've been involved in the sciences and watching companies in the scientific space and product development space for many years. One of the things that I've seen is history has shown that companies that do not invest in research and development, they don't stick around for very long. And that is one lasting legacy of your father and of the Research Institute is Young Living has committed to investing in research and development with our laboratories, with our equipment, so we can continue to understand and learn more about new products and new ingredients and continue to develop products that serve a purpose.
We have such a fantastic team of scientists. Gary, as you mentioned, when he was here, he was basically the research and development group. It was Gary's ideas, and Gary kind of told everybody what to create and what to produce. Well, now we have a team of over 50 scientists who are all contributing in that same way. And so the pace of development, the speed of development, when brand partners talk to me at different meetings or at convention and ask me where the future is going, I tell them we have a great interdisciplinary team, and we're all here in the office. And when we get together, ideas just start flowing. In fact, we have so many ideas that it is difficult to prioritize which ones should we work on first.
I've seen the list. It's quite exponential.
Right. And so we're all excited when we come to work. We cross-pollinate, as you well know, with lavender, right? We cross-pollinate ideas amongst all the different groups within the Institute. And so I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for the people that are here at corporate. I'm excited for the ideas that brand partners bring to us, because we do listen. And we listen for problems that are out in the world. And we try to come up with effective solutions in the forms of validated, verified products that are going to help people in their day-to-day wellness and in their day-to-day lives.
Yep, we try to give you all the best quality problem solvers, So, well, thank you both for your time, your passion, and just your commitment and dedication with everything that you do. You're both just an immense wealth of knowledge, and just love how you guys attack unknowns with everything that you do. And it's just great to see what you both do, what the whole team does and everything. Like I've said many times, it takes an army. It really does. And just there's so much that I'm looking forward to with the future, like I said, with the technology and what we know now and how that's continually progressing by the minute, essentially, in today's world. It's going to be exciting to see what the next few years hold and beyond that holds as well. So thank you both so much for coming on. Hope to have you both back on very, very soon. And until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
And thank you for tuning into this episode of The Wild Drop. Remember, you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, on YouTube, and our website at www.youngliving.com. Don't forget to oil up Young Living family. This is Jacob Young, dropping out. Take care.